I'm Linda Shiue. Welcome back to episode 2 of the Doctor's Spicebox. Today I'm going to show you a really easy and delicious recipe using a very humble pantry ingredient, the green cabbage. Today we're going to make seared or charred cabbage with a spicy Chipotle cashew crema. So I'll talk about the nutritional benefits of the cabbage, but the reason why I chose this today is that while we're all doing our quarantine cooking and you may not have a chance to go out to the grocery that often, the green cabbage is one of those vegetables that can keep forever, is very inexpensive, and is very flexible. It's also very delicious if you know how to cook it correctly. A lot of people cook it by overcooking it, either by boiling it or cooking it for a very long time, and that tends to make it kind of mushy and mealy in texture and really not that pleasant in its aroma or its flavor. Today though, we're going to use some direct high heat, and that will cook it quickly enough to tenderize it so that it's no longer raw and bring out some of its sweetness and give it a nice texture and crunch, and will be nothing like the boiled cabbage that you might be familiar with. So the first thing to do is to look at the cabbage. I've cut this one in half just to show you. And you want to identify the core, which is this triangular cone-shaped area on the bottom. This is important for this recipe because you don't want the cabbage pieces to fall apart when you're cooking them. Instead, you want them to remain intact in wedges. So again, this is a half cabbage, and we're going to cut it into quarters or 4 pieces, making sure that we have core in each of them, because that is what will keep them together. So I'm putting it down, and again, looking at the core, I'm going to cut first halfway through. So that we have core in both of these, and then cut again halfway through to leave core in each of the wedges. And of course, little pieces might fall down, but most of it will stay intact. Okay, so you see we have 4 nice wedges here with core. And then to cook it, you can hear from that sound of my induction burner that it's already preheating my pan. This is a cast iron pan, and that is a great way to get some really good heat to sear these. Our outdoor grill or an indoor grill pan would be excellent choices also, and I would have preferred the grill pan, but mine is not induction compatible. But I think we'll do great with cast iron, which many people have. But whatever induction compatible or whatever stovetop pan that you have will work. And then before I cook these, I'm just going to prepare them very simply with some olive oil, salt, and pepper. So I'm drizzling some olive oil, and we'll do that on the front and back, or both cut edges of each wedge, just brushing it on for evenness. I'm going to sprinkle it with some salt. Grind some black pepper. Turn them over and repeat with the other side. Again, brushing on olive oil and sprinkling with salt. And some black pepper. And we'll just set these down into the prepared pan. You can hear the sizzle, which reminds you that it's hot and is hot enough. And you're going to want to cook this undisturbed, leave it alone for a good 10 minutes on each side. Paying attention to cues that it might be cooking too fast, if it gets too smoky, or if it's not making any sizzling sounds, that the heat is too low, and turn it up, because you definitely want hot direct heat if you're going to get a nice sear and char on each of the each of the cut edges. Okay, Now, while that's cooking, I'm going to talk a little bit more about cabbage nutrition, and then I'll prepare the other part of this dish, which is the crema. So cabbages are part of the family of vegetables known as cruciferous vegetables. And cruciferous vegetables include other powerhouses of nutrition, including kale, broccoli, cauliflower, collard greens, all those dark leafy green vegetables, which you know are really good for you. What's so good about them? There are many things. So one of them is that they're all high in fiber, and fiber is one of the nutrients that we really don't get enough of on average in our diets. Really important for improving your health overall, not just digestive health, but they also lead to the development of a healthy microbiome. Those are the healthy gut bacteria that contribute to, as we're learning, kind of all of our chronic diseases, including heart disease, cancer, pretty much everything is what it's going to end up showing us. So fiber is one key nutrient. Cabbage and other cruciferous vegetables are also rich in potassium, and they're rich in vitamin K. Cabbage in particular is rich in vitamin C, which is an antioxidant. And other antioxidants in cabbage are also offering protection against many chronic diseases. In addition to antioxidants, other phytonutrients or plant-based nutrients, which are more than just the vitamins that you may know about, are different compounds. And one class of compounds in cruciferous vegetables, including cabbage, are the glucosinolates. Glucosinolates are cancer preventive compounds that contain sulfur. And we're learning more and more about these in research, but it looks like including foods that are rich in glucosinolates are quite beneficial in preventing cancer. And prevention, as I always say, is the best medicine. So I'm going to take a pause from talking about cabbage to just take a look at my cabbage for a moment here. Using some tongs, so I don't have to touch these directly now that the pan is really hot. And seeing that we already have a pretty nice sear here, I'm going to put it back down, let it continue for a few more minutes, and then I'll turn it over to the other side. So again, we're seeing the steam in the pan that's cooking the cabbage through. If you have a really big cabbage, bigger than what I have here, it's kind of a medium or small size, you could also cover this and allow that steam and the heat to trap a little bit and kind of cook through steaming as well. But I think my wedges are small enough that simply searing them is going to work. So let's talk a little bit about the accompaniment. So again, I'm making a cashew cream, or because I'm making it kind of Mexican spice, I'll call it a crema. For those of you who are new to plant-based eating, cashew cream is a game changer. It's basically made out of raw, meaning unroasted cashews that we have here, that have been soaked in water for at least 4 hours or overnight in the refrigerator, and then drained, as I have already done here, so they're super soft and can be blended. You'll see in a moment when I make this that they'll transform into a very, very light cream, which can substitute for any dairy-based cream. It can substitute for sour cream if you add vinegar or another acid like lemon juice or lime juice, and I'll be using some lime juice today. You can make it into actually like a sweet cream, like almost a whipped cream, by adding some vanilla and a little bit of powdered sugar or other sweetener. And you can leave it plain just to have a little bit of creaminess that you can stir into a soup the way that you might a heavy cream. So it's a plant-based, healthy version of cream that adds a lot of flavor and richness. So I'm picking up on the sense that my cabbages are ready to be turned over as I'm seeing and smelling more smoke here. So let me take a moment to turn those over. And I'm going to take them off the induction burner for a moment to show you the nice color on them. So you can see they're really nicely charred and are starting to get quite tender. So I'm going to put them back on the induction and let them continue to cook for another probably 5 minutes or so, 5 to 10, and then they'll be ready. So for the next part, like I said, I'm going to make this cashew cream. Before I get my cutting board out of the way, I'm going to cut this lime in half, because lime will be the souring agent that I'm going to use to give this kind of a sour cream or Mexican crema taste. So here's my lime. And this part's going to be kind of noisy as I use my high-speed blender to make the cashew cream. So what I'm going to show you here is that you're going to kind of eyeball how much water compared to the cashews that you're going to use. I always recommend starting with about half as much water as the cashews by volume, or if you're looking at it through the blender jar, that it's coming to about halfway up the height of your cashews. And now I'm going to blend it at very high speed. The reason for not adding more water is that you probably want it kind of thick so it has a good texture. You can always add more water and you can't take it out. So here we go, excuse the noise. And I think it's about ready now. So I'm going to show you the results here. You can see from this that it's really fluffy and smooth. You can, if you don't have a high-speed blender, which can be an expensive proposition, but I think if you're doing a lot of plant-based cooking, it can be well worth it for how versatile it is. You can use a regular blender. The key really is that you make sure your cashews are super soft and soaked. And let me just transfer this to a clear dish so you can see it better. Now we have our very smooth cream here. Okay, this is a cashew cream. You can see the texture of it here. Drips nicely off the spoon but still has some body. This is now unseasoned. You could use it as is for sure. However, I'm going to add some salt because I want this to be savory. And you're going to do this to taste. Always some black pepper. And then for this, as I mentioned, I wanted to have kind of a Mexican crema kind of taste. So I'm going to squeeze some lime juice into it for a little bit of both lime flavor and acidity. I'll start with half a lime. Again, we're going to taste this and make sure it gets to the exact flavor that we're looking for. But I will be posting a recipe for this on my website, spiceboxtravels.com, as well as my Facebook page, which is the Dr. Spicebox, so that you can use exact measurements if you're more comfortable. I'm going to take a moment to break from making the sauce to see how my cabbages are doing. They are pretty much done, so I am going to plate them and then continue to finish up the sauce. I'm going to clear this up a bit. Here we have the cashew cream that has been made tangy with a little bit of lime juice. Add a little bit of salt and pepper. And now I'm going to add a little bit of chipotle chili powder. Chipotles are smoked and dried jalapenos, so they are not super spicy, although they definitely do have some spice, but they are smoky. And this is perfect flavor to go with our charred cabbage, because it kind of brings in that theme of smokiness. So I'm going to start with just a few shakes of that. Also some powdered garlic. A lot of people don't like using powdered garlic, but for things like this where you're really just stirring something in to be smooth, I think you can add a really nice intense garlic flavor, and it's super convenient also. And now I am just stirring all that in, and we get this nice speckled looking cream here. And as I'm doing this to taste, I need to taste it before deciding if it needs more heat, more salt, more lime, whatever it is. I think it could use a little bit more of the chipotle. I want it to be spicy. Could use a little bit more garlic and a tad bit more salt. So let me just stir those together. And that's pretty good right there. A little bit of a slight burn as an undertone, a nice smokiness, and just the right amount of acidity from the lime, of which again you can adjust all of this to taste. So I'm going to put this together with our finished product here, which are beautifully grilled or seared or charred cabbage wedges. And the way that I would dress these is you could certainly put it on the side, or you can just add a little drizzle to each wedge. So this is a little bit of cool and creaminess to go with the, I'd say, juiciness, sweetness, a little bit of crunch from the charring, for a really nice side dish that would go well on a picnic, on a barbecue, for a light lunch. It can be a side dish, it can be a vegetarian main dish, which you could serve along with perhaps a side of beans for added protein, with a whole grain, maybe a grain salad or quinoa. That would be really nice. I think adding some pepitas, which I'm out of right now, would be a very nice crunch to go with this if you wanted to eat it alone. But just gonna show it to you again. And so we have our grilled or charred cabbage wedges with Chipotle Lime Crema. Thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that you'll try this out. Let me know if you do. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Spicebox Travels, on my blog at spiceboxtravels.com, and on Facebook at the Dr. Spicebox. As I promised, I will have this posted with the recipe details later on today. Thanks for coming.